for sticking around for what you've been waiting for. So, as you all know by now, Gus Fring is dead. Donated by master manipulator Walter White, with help, of course, from his partner in crime, Jesse Pinkman, and eventful, bell-ringing Tio Hector Salamanca. So I've seen the first 2 episodes of season 5, and let me tell you guys, you're in for an insane ride. And let's just say that killing off Fring simply opens up a whole new round of problems for our meth cooks, not to mention Hitman Mike, Better Call Saul Goodman, and the rest of the Breaking Bad characters. So without further ado, let's take a look at the trailer to season 5 of Breaking Bad. Oh yeah. The king is back. So let's introduce our panel now, starting with the creator, executive producer, writer, and director of Breaking Bad. And honestly, if this TV thing doesn't work out, I think he's got a great blueprint for a future in meth distribution. It's Vince Gilligan. Next up, she protects her family from the man who protects her family. She's Skylar White, Anna Gunn. Next up, no guilty to buying a Dodge Challenger when he's not munching on his breakfast cereal. It's Walter White Jr., RJ Mint. Next up, Puerto Rico is not a state, it's a territory. It's Albuquerque's most wanted klepto, Marie Schrader, Betsy Pratt. Next up, they're not rocks, they're minerals. He's the DEA agent with the guns. Hank's been going through something, so and of course, sometimes it doesn't hurt to have someone watching your back, and that man is Fixer Hitman Mike, Jonathan Banks. Yo, 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 148, 3 to the 3 to the 6 to the 9. He's not in danger, he is the danger, and he is the one who knows. It's Walter White himself, it's Aaron Paul. So I guess I should say, first off, thanks for the payment. I'm gonna make some fat stacks, bitch. Yeah, bitch. So Vince, let's talk about that finale. It must have been hard to get rid of Gus Fring, but obviously the complications are gonna resonate throughout and reverberate throughout season 5.
Yes, they will indeed. But in season 5, we got a new king. This guy right here.
Hello, everybody.
And now he truly is the one who knocks. So, is the transformation of Scarface complete, or what do we see this season?
That is the question, isn't it? How many of you guys think this guy's as bad as he's going to get? Well, Lord? I don't know. He may get worse yet.
At this point, is there anything redeemable to Walt? I mean, his relationship with Jesse obviously still has a parental tinge to it, but
I think someone said to me once, is this possible for Breaking Bad to have a happy ending? Have you been watching? And perhaps the happy ending would be that he dies. I don't know. I mean, he's become so toxic and so cancerous in and of itself, so maybe that's the way it has to go. But I truly don't know. None of us here on this panel know what's in this man's head. We don't know what he's going to do. We don't ask, and he doesn't tell us, and we like it that way.
Well, Walt has won, but what does winning mean to Walt, and will he ever truly win?
I keep flipping back and forth between being subjective to it and then being objective to it. But for me, it's been a journey where this man has taken on characteristics that he never even knew he had inside of him. But what I've learned is that all of us, every single one of us in here and everywhere else, has that capability of becoming dangerous given the right set of circumstances. It could happen. It could happen tonight.
It could happen as you throw some of that meth out there to the audience. I don't know. We better hold off. So Vince, what is the state of Walt's cancer?
Well, we have definitely not forgotten that, what brought us here, story, motivation-wise. Walt does indeed have lung cancer, although the irony being that he would not have had the best oncological care had he not cooked all that meth and made all that money. But he is, as we saw at the end of season 4, he is currently in a luckily enough, in a state of remission. Will that continue to be the case? Who's to say? But
You're to say.
Hey, I don't want to ruin anything. But we have not. The best way to answer that, I suppose, is that we have not certainly forgotten that thread of the story. We try not to forget any particular threads of story, and that is certainly one of the biggest ones. So more answers. All will be answered by the end of these 16 episodes.
I can think of a threat to Walter. Yeah.
Xena, EA Warrior.
The Princess Warrior. She's the threat.
You look really good, by the way.
It cleans up well. So we're talking about the evolution of Walt. Now let's talk about the evolution of Jesse Pinkman. It's an easy rise out of the crowd, Jesse Pinkman. Jesse had a tough year, but it does seem like he's kind of on the other side now. I mean, where is Jesse, would you say?
He's just kind of happy that he's alive. And, at the beginning, he was just this lost kid kind of struggling to find his way. And then Walter White completely just screws everything up. And, come on now. That's not true?
Your whole life was aimless until I came along.
I think Jesse's happy to, have his partner back and move forward.
Well, they're in a good place right now, but at some point he's going to find out about Jane and about Brock.
I don't know.
I mean,
Vince.
And well, let me ask you this: if Jesse finds out about Jane or Brock, what do you think the reaction is?
I think we all know. At the end of this last season, he thought it was all because of Mr. White, and so he came to the house with a gun ready to kill him. So if that was the case, if he finds out, I mean, he's gonna go out guns blazing for sure.
You don't think he might forgive and forget?
Nah.
I think that's a good thing to consider.
What did you say?
He didn't die.
You know what, that is true. That is true.
Well, that is how Walt justifies about everything. There's an ends to a means, and you were happy that the kid still lived. So
I was very happy that the kid lived. You know, I was very happy that I correctly guessed the dosage.
Right.
Well, you tried it out on a lot of other kids first. didn't you?
Yeah, a lot of kids in my neighborhood. Take this. Oh, okay, a little bit less than that.
There are a lot of things that have to go right for some of these things to happen. Down to Huel and his fingers just snatching that cigarette. But it all works out in the end, sort of. Anna. So talk about an evolution. So Skylar has really painted herself into a corner, and she's obviously terrified at this point. I mean, talk about that relationship, and can Skylar ever trust Walt? Do you think she's ever again going to feel love or compassion for this man?
I think that she can't guess, when she stumbles upon the fact that Walt is a drug dealer, which she really does stumble upon, and then she sees the truth of that in his face. That seems about as bad as it can get for her. She has no idea how deep this whole thing goes and how far the tentacles of this thing reaches. So at the end of last season, when she realizes that he had something to do or was the mastermind behind Gus's death, that is a hammer that drops on her so hard that I don't know that that's a corner she can ever unturn. And I think that's a question that we're still pondering. I know I am, and maybe Vince has the answer, but she wants to protect her family. She's going to hold her family together and protect her kids no matter what. And if that's at the cost of this relationship, then that's what she's going to do.
And there was a period of time where Skylar was kind of starting to get into this, the thrill of what was going on, and it lasted for a little bit, but.
You know, it's just what Brian said. Everybody has these dark corners and crevices to their personalities, and I think that she had no idea that she could be such a smooth, convincing liar. I mean, that part of it, just the stuff that going to the IRS office, playing that character, lying, creating that incredible lie for Hank and Marie about the gambling story. She writes the script down to the micro expressions that he should have. She's the director of this thing. So I think that there's a lot of deeper, darker things that might be going on even more with her. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, we saw her obviously consider just running away, the Four Corners situation. Vince, is there a chance she once again runs off to the Four Corners and this time goes to Colorado or wherever?
That'd be a good thing to do, wouldn't it, probably? I don't know.
We've been a spin-off with
I don't know, it's, sometimes, at a certain point you gotta plant your flag and stand your ground, and I think maybe we might see Skylar do that this season.
So, Jonathan.
Yeah. So I'd ask you a question. So where's my senior citizen base out there? Everybody looks like they're about 12 years older. All right, anybody over 65 out there?
Were they AARP meth heads?
Yeah.
They're out there. So Mike's always had things under control, but I think we'll probably start to see this season that he no longer necessarily has things under control. How does Mike sort of handle that and dealing with Walt, who he knows is as we saw in the promo, a ticking time bomb?
I don't know that Mike's ever had anything under control. I think Mike got lost a long, long time ago. I think he has people that he needs to take care of, and so he moves forward with great trepidation.
And any hints, Vince, to what Mike does in season 5?
No, because Vince gave me a whole list of things that I can't talk about. I can't remember what they are. I'm lucky I got to ask a question, for Christ's sake.
Rosina. Obviously, Hank spent most of season 3 in slow recovery, and that's obviously been one of the great things about Breaking Bad is, you know, you see the consequences of things. And so most of season 3, he was in this deep sort of spiral, but he's been vindicated now. So talk about Hank in season 5 and sort of what happens to the mojo's back. He's still looking for someone. What is Hank back? Has he got his mojo back?
Yeah, I think he, first of all, thank you for wearing my picture on your chest, by the way.
There you go. Yep.
Yeah. I think he does, yeah. I mean, he was obviously proven correct. And no one believed him, and I think that has helped him. I think Hank has always been a guy that needs to be doing his job. And if he's not doing his job, he's not very happy. So that he's now back doing his job, and he's going to be hot on this trail.
And Betsy. So sort of the same. You know, obviously Marie had to deal with Hank in season 4, and you know there was a strain to the relationship, and it sort of forced her back to her klepto ways. But things have changed again, and it does seem like this
For now.
relationship has.
For now.
The relationship.
I'd like to take credit for helping Hank get his mojo back. Right? That's a good scene.
Exactly.
Two-handed scene. That's a good scene.
That's a turning point. So where do you see? So where do you see Marie in season 5?
For Marie, it's about her relationships, you know, with Hank and with the White family, and you know that's what's really important to her, and we just see more of that in this season.
And RJ. So Flynn is back. So at what point do you think Walt Jr. finally finds out what's really going on? And how's that going to impact him? He's always idolized his dad. Do you think he actually ends up thinking it's cool and wants to join the family business, or?
Well, all hail the king. I have no idea. I have complete faith in Vince to create this whole madness. And come on, it's his father. He has to love his father. He loves his family, and I'm excited to see what will happen with Walt Jr. It's gonna be an interesting ride.
So, Vince, let's talk about how you've plotted the show out, because there have been several times through the years where you've talked about how you've kind of sort of written on the fly that some things, Gus, for example, wasn't going to be as major a character as he ended up being in season 2, and Mike was only going to be in, what, 1 episode originally? Or?
What a mistake.
But you've also managed to fit these puzzle pieces in perfectly, where it seems like you do have a plan all along. So what's that process, and how are you guys able to sort of stitch together this perfect narrative that you've been able to pull off?
Thank you. It's just a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and the help of 6 excellent writers, many of whom are in the audience tonight. For sure, we got Peter Gould in the audience, and we've got Wally Beckett in the audience. The 7 of us sit together in a very ugly room in a very even uglier building right near the Burbank Airport, beautiful Burbank, California. And we just hours and hours a day we try to work this out. And as you hinted at, it's a very organic living process to come up with these stories. Because, for instance, Mike, as you said, would not even have been on the show if we'd been able to book Bob Odenkirk for a particular episode way back in season 2, I think it was. It was originally, if you guys remember the scene where we first meet Mike the cleaner, he comes in, he cleans up Jane's dead body, Jesse's girlfriend. Snipes Aaron around a little bit, just because we thought that'd be fun. And, no, I'm just kidding. And that was originally going to be Bob Odenkirk doing that instead. So you kind of play it as it lays. You kind of it kind of works out as it works out.
It's going on BrianCranston.com tonight. Just start checking it out. You've also said that you were going to kill off Jesse in season 1.
Well, that could still happen any minute. I would never do that. The original plan was before we knew and loved Mr. Aaron Paul here. The original plan before we cast the part was to kill off that character, let him help Mr. White gain entree into the business, and teach him everything he knows, and then get killed in some horrible drug deal gone wrong.
Which could still happen.
It could still happen, you know.
So there's hope.
But he's just such a sweet guy that there's, you just want to pinch him, you know. And so that's why we decided not to do that.
Thank you. Thank God.
Was there ever a point where you felt like you had ridden yourself into a corner and found a way to get out of it, or?
Oh God, yeah. Oh man, many times. These guys that work with me can attest. For instance, when you two guys were in the RV in the junkyard, and Xena down there was right outside the door.
Oh yeah.
We got to the end of 3 or whatever it was. And I can't remember what act it was, and then he was right into the wolf was at the door there knocking, and we didn't know what the hell to do. And then we thought, are we going to have to undo, all this stuff that we've created here? And then we came up with that the way, the brilliance of Walter White is that he comes up with this stuff all by himself, whereas it takes 7 of us working, weeks and months.
I don't know, it was so hard.
Bitch!
Aaron, I assume you've gone on YouTube and you've seen the video compilations of Jesse Pinkman saying bitch 100 different ways. All stuff is really good, by the way. This meth, it's delicious.
It is.
So, Vince, let's talk about season 5. So, one of the big issues this season is magical electromotive. How are the Germans playing to this, and how much are we going to see of sort of the mess that Gus leaves behind, and how does that impact what Walt's up to?
We're going to hear more German. You're going to read more subtitles that are. You're going to hear more German and read more German subtitled language than Spanish this season, I think. Yeah, Madrigal is going to play a role this season. Madrigal, of course, is a company that bankrolled. Apparently, it seemed to have bankrolled Gus Fring's empire. Was a silent partner, perhaps. Whether it was the company as a whole, whether it's some sort of Vader-esque evil empire, or whether it was just certain executives who worked in it, well, that remains to be seen. But it's gonna, we're gonna open up the world a little bit, and gonna take us all the way to Hanover, Germany, actually, in the second episode. But more than that, I should not say.
Do you want to talk about who else we get to meet this season, or anyone that you want to hint at, or?
Going to meet an interesting lady, Lydia, who you guys wind up crossing paths with.
You're just going to keep characters? You're talking about the characters we're meeting?
Well, the actress who plays her is a lovely young woman who I've actually never met. I've never met Laura Fraser, a wonderful actress.
How do you know she's lovely? You never met her.
Because I've seen her in I've sat in an editing room watching her for many hours on end. Although I have never seen her out of character in any of the footage that we've been cutting. She has a beautiful Scottish accent, really.
She does.
Yeah. excellent actress. She's an interesting character. I don't want to give too much away about her, but a former associate of Gus Frings is all I'll say. But she's going to make life interesting for a couple of these folks in the panel this season.
Aaron's smiling. That means something. What would you say is kind of the overall theme of this season? At least the first 8 episodes, and you know, sort of the direction that the show goes this season.
Yeah, I should ask my writers. Help me out on this. You know, first off, I will say that anytime I come up with the theme or thesis or moral of any given season, I don't know that I'm the best person to answer that, because you get to a point where you really can't see the forest for the trees. You're sort of in the middle of it all. But if I had to, if you hold my feet to the fire, I would say this season is about winning and what it is to stay on top. There's that old story, I'm probably going to screw up, about Alexander the Great, who, when he was told by his advisors that he had conquered the entire known world, he wept, because he knew there were no more worlds to conquer. And will Walter White face a little of that?
So, at the end of the whole series, Walter is just left alone weeping?
Oh yeah, like a baby in his underpants. Absolutely.
Well, Walt may be winning, but he's broke once again. I've never seen a drug dealer worse with their money. He's back to basics again, so that's going to force him to once again go back to cooking.
We have a plan.
You'd think that, what's interesting is that this, from an objective standpoint, the Gus Fring storyline component took 2.5 seasons. He came in at about middle of the second season and ended at end of 4, which kind of left us with 16 episodes to go to start anew from a standing position.
Yeah.
We had to really recreate a momentum. And you'd think that after narrowly being killed and having your entire family being threatened, that a sane person would say, wow, that was a close call. I'm out of here, let's get out of it. But not Walter White. He doesn't, he's found a new power, and it's his ego. And he's got this drive to be the best. He feels like he just beat Boris Spassky in a chess match, and he's ready to take on the world. And so it's very interesting how, as we wind down to 16 episodes, we're also cranking it up. The tension of this last season that we shot, for me, felt far more stressful. Was it?
Yes.
Yeah.
It did. This entire, I think I can explain the tone for this season is just eerie. It's just creepy. The entire season is just, you know the episode Crawl Space where Skyler finds Walt in the crawl space searching for the money, and he just starts laughing, and you just have this unsettling feeling within yourself. That's how this entire season felt to me.
Sunday night, the difference from the premiere of last year was shockingly violent. This Sunday night is not violent. It's intellectual. But it's just as compelling and captivating in what we do. And funny, actually.
I was going to say, it's probably the funniest episode you guys have done in a while.
It was not on purpose, but I was just going to say, I agree with everything Aaron said, but there's this weird duality to this season, because there's a lot of dark humor to this season that we were not reaching for, particularly in the writer's room, but it's there because, well, there's this great weight lifted off of Walt, as we saw, and I give everything away, you saw that weight lifted off at the end of season 4 when he beat Spring. That existential competition he was engaged in is relieved from him, off him. And there's this strange sort of exhilaration, I think, that it seems to me you feel in the early going, and it's shared by your little band of
Merry Men.
Merry Men.
Well, without giving too much away, I think Aaron actually has the line of the night in the premiere. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
You want to give a little taste?
Can I say that line? Magnets, bitch!
It's a nice throwback to science.
Yes, science!
So is this the last we've seen, as now that Walt is evolving, this is the last we've seen of the Aztec? Has it finally lost its windshield for, after the fourth time, or?
You might see the Aztec again this season. You might indeed.
Yeah. Can't kill that car, huh?
Yeah, it's like a cockroach. It'll survive a nuclear holocaust.
But I can also tell you that as we venture into these last 2 seasons, there's an expansion of our group. We actually widen. You mentioned one of the characters. We actually have to let in a few more people into our secret. And as the saying goes, you're only as good as as strong as your weakest link. And that becomes very apparent about midway through this season where we have some issues.
We have a wonderful actor named Jesse Plemons, who is a wonderful show with Carl Maltese. And he plays a character named Todd, and he will be,
He plays an incredibly important character.
yeah, he plays a very important character this season. He's a great actor. We got some really good actors, aside from you guys, obviously. Some good actors on the show.
The nicest guy.
Do we see some old favorites come back? More Skinny Pete, more Badger?
You'll see a little Skinny Pete, little Badger action.
And any flashbacks to some dead favorites like Gus or Gale?
Bring back who?
That would be, I liked him. And the actor who plays him, sweet guy, was studying to be a hairdresser. He had no interest in acting, I think he was. No, I'm serious.
Rodney Rush.
I didn't know that.
I think he was. He's a sweet guy.
He did my hair.
He's a rapper.
Oh, by the way, you will see a new side of Skinny Pete this season. The actor who plays him has a rather impressive talent. I will not say what it is, but it'll become readily apparent the first time you lay eyes on him in the first episode he appears in this season. And that's something to look forward to.
Charles Baker.
Charles Baker.
Good stuff, okay. So what about Bob Odenkirk, who couldn't be here today, unfortunately? Saul's also sort of a ticking time bomb. He's on the edge. But as we see in that clip, he's not done until Walt says he's done.
Yeah.
So Saul's sort of still in it, and
Oh yeah, how could you carry on without Saul? I mean, he's one of the few characters on this show who really, it seems to me, who really not only knows who he is and doesn't lie to himself about who he is, but actually enjoys this world. Maybe up until now. I don't know. I think he's in a little deep. He's in a little over his head now at the end of season 4, beginning of season 5. He may not be quite as happy that he tried so hard to work with the world's greatest meth cook way back when.
Better call Saul.
But yeah, we see plenty of Bob Odenkirk this season. Great guy.
so Hank has been right just about every step of the way. Thank you. But yet the cartel was able to find Walt immediately, and the DEA still has no clue.
Curious.
How is that possible?
They keep picking up more seasons, so I guess if I catch it too early, we're in trouble.
Yeah, that's true.
I think we've artfully avoided Hank catching him. I don't think we pushed that too far. It's still hiding in plain sight kind of thing. And I think once you kind of get in your mind that a person is a certain way, it's really hard to see them differently. And And I think he's known Walt for a long time, and Walt's this kind of milquetoast, high school chemistry teacher. He can't imagine. It would be ridiculous for him to think that Walt is Heisenberg. It would just be that would be bad writing, But he's not done looking, and I think that's something that we'll have to deal with at some point.
So Hank plus Walt equals
Epic.
So Vince, another hallmark of the show that you've done very well is sort of planting those clues throughout the season, especially season 2 with the pink teddy bear, of course, is the most famous one of all. But you do a good job of early on sort of giving ideas, clues to where the season is going. What might we see early in the season that will actually end up saying a lot about where these 8 episodes are going? What should we be looking out for in episode 1?
It's not that subtle. This particular season opens it'll be right there at plain sight in the first few moments of the episode as you see it. There is quite a
In the comic attraction you saw, did you catch a glimpse of something? You saw a glimpse of something from inside a trunk of a car? Yeah. This teaser, Sunday night, is the most revealing teaser Breaking Bad has ever shown. And yet, after you finish watching it, you don't know what it means to you. You get all this information, but then you go, how do I process that? I don't know where to put that. I don't know what to do with that. And you just have to be patient. It'll play itself out.
So can you give us any hint whatsoever? Is it how far in the future? Is it...
Well, it's pretty clear right from the very first shot. There's something, it's a shout out to a past episode you should recognize immediately, going way back to the very first episode, in fact, that tells you very quickly, using a common household food product, exactly when this is, what exact day it is. And you will very quickly know at what point in time that this particular moment is placed. But yeah, Brian worded it very well. What it all means, who's to say? But all will be answered. Now, let's
say. Again, you're to say.
Decide to drop the whole thing later. I don't know. Let's drop it.
All right. But you're right. Like when you see it, it's not subtle. Right. What you do with a certain yes. Yes. Okay. Sorry. You'll see it tomorrow. Come on, people. Or Sunday. So if you want to start lining up, we're going to do some Q&A, so get ready for that. In the meantime, I've got a few housekeeping things to talk about. First off, for more Breaking Bad at Comic-Con, please meet the cast and creator, this guy right here, at Sony's booth number 4229 tomorrow, Saturday morning, between 10 and 11 a.m. for autograph signing. Bob's going to be there as well, so this whole crew's going to be there. So